Welcome back, folks. It's nice to have you with us. We're talking about club rugby. Lots of action. Let's quickly take a look at some of the results from the weekend. In Super League C, it's All Saints with a win over Scotstoun, 41-32. Busy Bees went down to Violets. Atlantis went 22-20 up over Rangers. It was a win for Gardens over Peniel Villages, and then Langa 22-18 over Esterfield, while Strand scored a win over Caledonian Roses, and Delft went down to Strand United 19 points to 5. All right, Renzel, I know where your eyes are going. You're immediately looking at that Strand United Delft game, right?
Yes, I wanted to say that's a very good result for Strand United.
Very good result for Strand United, yeah. Morgan, anything jump out for you there?
No, just across the board, the results that jump at me is it's very closely contested. You know, we talk about Super League B, that's so closely contested, but none of the results there in Super League C are runaway victories.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
you know, what the log I haven't seen what the log looks like, but just based on that, one really gets the impression that you talk about Super League B being the group of death. I think there's a lot to play for in Super League C.
Well, there are some big games there. I mean, for example, All Saints coming away with that 41-32 win over Scotstoun. Scotstoun are in fact actually starting to show a little bit of momentum there.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, you want to pick up momentum. This is the time of the year. We've spoken about it now. You've played enough games, and you want to start building momentum towards the playoffs that are starting to lurk around. There's talk of top 6 and so forth.
Well, there you go. Scotstoun in its 6th position.
Yeah, so then they'll start building a little bit of momentum as we head towards what many call the business end, James, of the competition.
So, Renzel, if we're looking there at Super League C, All Saints is sitting at number 1 on the log. Again, going to that picture there, but that puts Gardens with game in hand. Young People's got 3 games in hand. That top 6, if we look there, it's now very close again. It's again a question of, I would say almost that the bottom 10 teams can make it into the top 6.
Oh, I was just looking at that top 10, and I think top 10. You know, 2-3 losses for the top sides. And these guys are in contention for it.
Especially with that sort of number of games. I mean, if you look at Rangers, for example, they've played only 7 games. And that would put three games in hand. And 3 games is 15 points. 15 points and you're back into the top 3, top 4 of the log.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, Renzel and I were talking a little bit off air about, you know, how much is enough to stay up and how much is enough to get into the top 6. And those two numbers sometimes very, very close.
Yeah.
You know, we feel like between 20 and 25 points should keep you safe, which means you're going to pick up 4 or 5 victories throughout the season. And then to get into the top 6, you're looking at what, 30 points, maybe 25, 30 points. So it becomes a numbers game now, Japs. And the bonus points are so important as well, you know. Picking up a victory is one thing, but that extra bonus point, you're losing bonus point away from home. Sometimes those things all help you come the back end of the season.
All right, folks, we're getting into sort of the nitty-gritty of how you win the league, or at least survive in the league. But let's go now. Super League A. This was, of course, a big game of the weekend. Falsebay, Tygerberg.
Spanner die bly die whistle na vir die knock-on.
Right, there we go. Halftime score between Falsebay and Tygerberg. Tygerberg leading 28 points to 22. Morgan Newman, talk to me a little bit about the hand skills Tygerberg are putting on show here.
Yo, James, there's some, look, it's no surprise, right? If Roger Smith's your backline coach, I think there's some real experience, some real talent being shared there amongst that Tygerberg backline. We played against them in the friendly, in the preseason, and they were just as good.
Yeah.
And as always, Tygerberg backline showing exactly what they can do. But also from a defensive point of view, 2 intercept tries early on in that game. They're coming off the line nice and hard. There seems to be a lot of synchronicity amongst that backline. And so I think they're a real force to be reckoned with this year.
Yeah, Renz, your feeling on that? I mean, we're still going to come back to it. We're still going to halftime, yeah. But your feeling just heading into halftime, yeah?
Looking at that score, it was, I think, both sides. Good tries from both sides. I think, looking at the game there, I think Falsebay maybe a bit in front with the forwards. But yeah, second half still to come. Maybe the ball will turn.
Okay. Let's go then. This is the second half now. Falsebay, Tygerberg. Just bear in mind, folks, Falsebay is currently, after this, number 3 on the log. Tygerberg certainly at number 7. So both these teams in real contention for big numbers in the top 6. Let's take a look. Second half. There we go. Final result, 38 points to 24 in favor of Tygerberg. Final thoughts there, Renzel?
I think, looking at this game, I think this is a big scalp that Tygerberg took, looking at Falsebay laying at number 3. So I think this was a big win for them and a good morale booster for them going into their next game.
Yeah, it does kind of put to bed the Tygerberg status in Super League A. Big contenders, and certainly in a shot with, a number of teams to stay in the top 6.
Yeah, it's a very big result for Tygerberg, James. That top 6 can slowly get away from you as well, but Tygerberg against a top, you got to beat, sometimes you earmark in a top 3, maybe not one of the players you're going to pick up for 5 points. Tygerberg go away from home, pick up 5 points. They're sitting in 7th position on the log. That's a really big result, Pick up one more like that, and they find themselves very sneakily into the top 6.
Only 1 point behind Van der Stel at the moment. Van der Stel currently sitting on 27, although Van der Stel, UCT, and Hamilton's have got games in hand. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to be moving to UWC and SK Warmers. More big games.